Hello, this is Dr. Alan Yim. Today I'm going to show you how to write your intervals using the major scale. I'm also going to show you how to recognize them. So let's start. First of all, the first thing you should recognize is that intervals that we're interested have a particular number from 1 to 8. So this is really very easy to recognize. When you look at two pitches, they're going to look something like this, or maybe they'll be stacked on top of each other like this. Now I'm writing some particular ones here, and I'm going to show you how to figure out, well, what the number is first. So you may notice something about how I'm grouping this. There's two different sides to this, and when you want to figure out the number for it, you just start at the first note. In the case on the far left, it's an F. Going to an F, that's going to be a 1 because it's a unison. Then this one's a 3. So how do we get a 3? Well, simply just count up the lines and spaces. 1, 2, 3. You could also use the alphabet. So the first one's F, next one's G, next one's A. So if you use your fingers, 1, 2, 3, and it's a third. Luckily, it only goes up to 8. So we have 10 fingers. We could always use our fingers to count these intervals. But using this method, you can see the next one's 5, 7, and on the right it's 2, 4, 6, and 8. What's interesting about this, of course, on the left side it's odd, on the right side it's even. Odd number intervals go from a line to a line note, or in this case, a space to a space. So it's the same type of note. On the right side, of note. On the right side, the evens, 2, 4, 6, and 8, they go from different. They're different from either a line to a space or a line to a line. Right. So this helps you to identify the intervals, because when you look at them, you're going to know right away if it's an even number or an odd number, depending on whether the notes are the same or different. So keep that in mind. Now, what about what I have up here, the quality? How do you know if it's major, minor, perfect, augmented, or diminished? You may look at these, you may be able to count up the numbers, but you may not know what the quality is. First of all, I'm going to review. I'm presuming that you have learned your key signatures. Maybe you don't know them perfectly, but do your best to memorize them as soon as you can. I also presume that you saw the last video when I talked about creating intervals using half and whole steps. Using half steps, in which I told you about changing the intervals by making them bigger or smaller. So over on the left, I'm going to put smaller. Over on the right, I'm putting bigger. And this is bigger or smaller by a half step. So suppose I start in minor and I make it bigger by a half step, that becomes major. If I make major a half step bigger, it's going to become augmented. On the left side, a minor interval, when you make it smaller, becomes diminished. A perfect interval becomes augmented when it gets bigger, and it becomes diminished when you make it a half step smaller. This is important to keep in mind. The symbol for diminished will be a little circle. For perfect, of course, we're going to use a P. Augmented will be a plus. Minor, we're going to use a lowercase m, and major, we'll use an uppercase M. Now, I think we're ready to figure out how to identify some of these intervals. I'll start with the treble clef. I'll do one, and then I'll give you a chance to figure one out on your own. Okay, so let's suppose I start on G and I go to a D sharp. First of all, I'm going to figure out the number. G is 1. A, B, C, D. If you're using your hand, you came up with the number 5. I'm going to now think in the key of G major. So I'm going to treat this as Do. whatever the bottom note is, I'm going to think in major. You're going to see why in 2 seconds. So this is what I'm thinking. G major. And now, if I think in the key of G, and this is do, and this is so, going back up here, okay, when you think in the key, take a look at this. We're going to know what the qualities are. 1, 4, 5, and 8 are perfect. 1, 4, 5, and 8 are perfect. The other ones, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 6 are going to be major. Alright, I probably should write this in order so it looks a little bit clearer. I'm going to do that down here. So let's take a look at this in the key of G. Here it is. So in order, it looks like this. Okay. First we put the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the key of G. Perfect, major, major, perfect, perfect, major, major, perfect. So all the intervals when you're in a major key from do up to each scale degree are going to be either perfect or major. You should memorize this. So over here, this is a fifth, as I said before, and it's perfect. Okay, because all do to so's in a scale are perfect fifths. On the left side, I'm raising up the upper note, so I'm making it a half step bigger. So up above, you can see when I do that, I'm taking a perfect interval, I'm making it one bigger. So over on the left side, I'm making, now the modification is that that's going to be augmented. So that's the perfect fifth, and then when I raise up the top, it becomes an augmented fifth. I'll let you do one, and then we'll move on to one little last subject. So why don't you try this? What is this interval? A to C flat. You can stop the video and think about it. And here's the answer. So A, I'm down below, I'm going to think this. Of course, you know the key signature for A. Fat cats go down alleys, fat cats go. And so here's the diatonic do to mi. The number is 3. So A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Now A to C sharp, this is in the key. So A to C sharp is a major third. Well, here, up above, we know it's a third, but that C sharp on the top, well, it's getting lowered to C, and then it's getting lowered to C flat. So we started from this major third, we lower C to C flat, or sorry, C sharp to C natural, and then to C flat. So up above, if you said that this is a diminished third, you are correct. I hope this explains how to figure out the intervals from the major scale and to write them as well. So I'll see you in the next video, and as always, be sure to ask me questions if you are confused. Thank you.